Can you guess what he said after that?
Are you pregnant?
He says, make sure you're not pregnant.
One person will be blindfolded, one's hands will be tied, and one's legs will be tied.
I had an employee's mother from him. The consequence is something like this.
I think I've interviewed about more than 500 people.
No, it's just... Hi, my name is Malika.
Hi, my name is Natasha.
Welcome to UnEvolved. Two best friends, zero evolution.
Today's topic is about workplaces, bosses, and toxic work cultures in 2024. I feel like as millennials and Gen Zs, we've experienced a lot of different sort of work cultures. After COVID, we've got a hybrid work culture. We've got so many startups. We've got so many different types of occupations that have come into place, which has developed a lot of different kinds of work cultures. Having been an entrepreneur now, but worked at many startups before, I feel like I've had some fair share of experiences in this entire, zone. I remember my first weird experience, so to speak, was when I was about 18 years old. I was in my, undergrad. And at that time, I was pursuing psychology. And I really wanted to do an internship with somebody who would not just kind of keep me at the back end wanting to do like paperwork and stuff, but where I would get some real world and real life experience. Because that's how I believe you learn best. So I joined this life coach.
Oh my God, are you going to talk about Mr. X?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We don't want to defame anybody, so we'll refer to him as Mr. X.
Yeah.
This guy that I was interning with, his philosophy was very like, you can't heal in the four walls of a room like how you do with, life coaches and therapists. Yeah. He said that you have to shock your body, you have to be out there, you have to be adventurous and experience all of these things for you to be able to, heal and get over things. That was his philosophy. And I was only 18 years old, so, you get very excited when you're like earning money, and he was paying me 15,000 rupees a month, which is a lot of money. So one time he called me and my colleague. We were only two of us working for him at that time. He called us and said, okay, let's meet at a train station. And I thought it'd be like a normal, you meet your clients or whatever. Yeah. There we were joined by his clients. And then he gathered all of us and said, okay, I have an activity that I want all of us to do. So we're like, okay, it'll be fun. He said, we're going to divide ourselves into teams of two. So 3 in each team. And he said that we're all going to have one thing that's not working for us. And that means one person will be blindfolded, one's hands will be tied, and one's legs will be tied. And he said, now our mission...
all of 18?
I was all of 18, yeah. And he said that now we have to get from point A to point B, being in this situation, and help each other out. So it was like a team building, team bonding activity. And I mean, I couldn't really process it at that time. I was like, okay, this will be fun. Let's do it. I really couldn't process, the situation properly. So anyway, so it was me, this Mr. X, and another client of his in one team. And I was the one who was blindfolded. So once I was blindfolded...
and the other two could see?
The other two could see. His hands were tied and the client's legs were tied. And the same was in the other team.
Final destination all in one. How scary.
Yeah. So he blindfolded me, and obviously then they had to guide me. So he was holding my hand and taking me through, like the train station, and we were going to board the train. And somehow we got onto the train. But then I could hear a little bit of ruckus happening around me, and my anxiety couldn't take it. So I just took my blindfold off and I saw left and right, and I realized that there was no one around me. The only glimpse I could see was that, and the train was moving. It hadn't left the platform fully. It was moving. So it was quickly pacing up. And he left the other client behind on the platform. So he jumped out of the moving train.
And left you there?
And left me there. It was a men's compartment. So I was obviously extremely scared. I had no idea. My instinct was, he's jumped. You go jump after him.
Rightly so.
So in that fraction of a second, I just didn't know what to do. I saw a glimpse of him jump out. I ran and I jumped out of the train. And those pillars that are there on train stations, both of us missed that pillar by like half an inch, and everyone in the train is like screaming, saying that, "Kaun hai ye pagal?" And I was injured. It was not too serious, but I was injured, and so was he. And it was a very traumatic experience. And that's not it. Even apart from that, I remember this one time, this was just the first month I was with him for 3 months,
Yeah.
where he called me for a meeting, and he just sat me down and he's like, "What are you doing for this company?" So I said, "I'm interning for this company." He's like, "No, what are you doing for this company?" And I said, like, I'm learning because this is my first, proper job. And he's like, "You're an entitled, young girl. You've got no idea. I don't know what I did what I was thinking when I gave you this job. You're making no difference at all. I felt like I've spent so much money for no reason." And he just thrashed me.
But that's okay. Every now and then, I think bosses do that.
Yeah, I mean, it is okay for you to do that when the person deserves that kind of a feedback. Why I'm telling you the story is because later on he messaged me and told me that don't take anything I said personally. I was just testing how much you can withstand. So I was just like, am I in roadies or am I in
Red flag.
or am I in like am I actually running
Roti banega to roti.
So it was really one of those. That's been, I think, like one of the most core memories of my work.
No, but Nichasha, I remember this one story that you're not telling us about Mr. X, which had something to do with I can't remember clearly, but it was something not so okay for a girl to be doing or for a woman to be doing. Something to do with cuffs.
No, that wasn't. So, oh my God, like, I can't believe it. Now that I look back, I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking?
You were an idiot.
So there was another activity that he wanted us to do. Somehow every activity has involved, like blindfolding or like gagging.
He really had some kind of
I don't know what it
fetish.
was, man. So he asked me to go to the market and find something, and this was pre-COVID, to find something that, covers your mouth. And
Okay,
I didn't know. I thought, okay, must be one of the other
Like a
activities.
mask or
Like a
whatever.
mask or just some, I don't know what he was expecting. It was not a clear, description.
Yeah.
And so I went to the market and I found like a mask and other things like that you could use as a thing to tie your mouth. He's like, now put it on yourself and send me pictures so I can pick and choose what looks good. And that's when I'm like, no, wait, this isn't right. This can't be happening. It's not like I'm buying merch or like something that needs me to try on. So that was really
like
creepy.
Yeah.
And then when I look back now, there were so many red flags. Like he would only hire girls who were below the age of 25. He would actively hire his employees and clients from dating apps.
This you've told me.
Yeah.
Before,
So, I mean, looking back, of course, you realize there were a lot of red flags. But yeah, that was a wild experience.
But do you feel like a lot of people do look for business on the dating apps today?
I mean, you
Or
may,
look for jobs also on dating apps today?
I'm sure they do. I mean, that's one of the biggest networking tools we have today.
3,000,000%.
Yeah.
I agree.
And as long as you're doing it in an ethical way and you're not
Yes.
misleading somebody, I don't think that's wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's
Friends
also
and-
Bumble
yeah.
Biz for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you had any of these weird experiences in your career at all?
No, fortunately, I had bosses that were so cool, that was so sweet. One of them taught me what, drugs were. I was so innocent. I was, early 18.
That is a red flag, Malika.
No, but you see red flags very differently. I see red flags very differently. So I thought it was so cool, so sweet. And I kind of imbibe, the kind of boss that he was. I kind of imbibed that today. And they were very cool. Today they're clients of mine, and I've touchwood not had these kind of experiences. Of course, I've had clients from hell. Like, I think we had one
Before
client.
we get into that, let's give everybody some context on what we do now.
Oh, yes, sorry, please. So, Nichasha and I both run our own social media agencies, fully 360-degree
It's on a marketing pitch, Malika.
Okay, so we run social media agencies. Mine's called Evolve Now Media, hers called Studio Ungap. And
Hence the name, from Ungap and Evolve from Evolve Now Media.
yeah, that's how this name came about, and it's such a beautiful name. But yeah, so we've had clients from fucking hell.
No, so I think like when you're an entrepreneur, and especially when you're in a field like social media,
Yeah.
it's very hard to draw boundaries on
I was
what
just
are,
gonna say,
what are
yeah.
deliverables, what are not,
Yeah.
what's accepted, what's not accepted. Some
The
people,
lines are very blurred.
lines are very blurred.
Yeah.
Of course, I would say like as an entrepreneur, young entrepreneur with a young team, I've faced a lot of biases where
Yeah.
people don't take you seriously, especially when you're in a field like media where people have a lot of preconceived notions anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming back to the topic, which
Yeah.
is toxic work cultures, workplaces. What do you think are like the top 3 red flags in employees, not employers?
Okay, so I think my number one would be, and this is a personal experience that I had, when sometimes the sort of lines are blurred, like I said before, where you're very involved. And this, as an employer, is also wrong, I believe. Where you're very involved in their family drama. Uske boyfriend ke saath kya ho raha hai? Uske best friend ke saath kya ho raha hai? This, that. I think the lines blurred does cause issues in your professional life as well. And I've faced this twice. So I know for a fact that this is a reality. So that's one. Two is when they have a very nonchalant attitude, like a DKDC attitude is what we call it. Don't know, don't care. So a very that sort of attitude. I don't think that's always nice. And the third is, I think, any form of not having accountability or immaturity. I think anybody would say that these three are the top red flags that they don't want in an employee.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything you can teach someone everything. You can't teach them these things.
No, I agree. I think I've interviewed about more than 500 people.
Yeah.
And most of them are Gen Zs and millennials under the age of 25. And what I've realized is, I had this one time where this guy, came into my office. We'd called him for an interview for the role of a social media manager. And he sat down in front of me and I asked him the basic questions, tell me a bit about yourself and what have you done in the past. And he just seemed so nonchalant. Like all of his answers were one word. Like I had the pressure of taking that conversation forward.
Yes.
So I was just like, at a point I just got fed up and I'm like, why do you want a job?
Yeah.
So he's like, मेरे पापा ने बोला है कि मुझे काम करना है तो अब मैं काम कर रहा हूँ. And I was just like, that is absurd. Like you don't waste people's time when you're not interested in working. While we've discussed like 3 red flags that employees have, I also feel like employers also have red flags. And while we've covered it with my wild stories.
So then tell me, what are the 3 red flags that you think employers have? Apart from maybe what the basics are. But tell me.
Yeah.
3.
No, so I think like what we've already discussed, number one is when people don't pay on time. I feel like
100%.
People, employers especially hold the power of money over a lot of their employees. Whether, if it's something that's gone wrong, if they've, outsourced work to an agency, there are very few people you'll meet who are ethical about money, who pay on time,
for sure,
or who will understand that other people's houses run with that money.
Yes.
So you have to have a certain, level of responsibility. I feel like that isn't there a lot.
I agree.
That's one. 2 is obviously another thing is that you're making them work on certain things that maybe are not there. This happens in startups, right? You tend to evolve your job roles, but not giving credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like that's very important for people to feel motivated. Like if no one's going to tell us anything, we're not going to feel motivated.
Money is not the only motivator. It is the biggest, but it's not the only. Yeah.
That, and also I think, if you remember, Malika, in COVID, there was this one video that had become viral of this bank manager who had got all of his, I don't remember what exactly his job role was, but him and his team were on a video call. And he was...
Oh, yes!
Yeah. He was shouting at them for the targets that they didn't achieve.
Yes.
And it wasn't...
Hindi gali he was saying,
he was abusing left, right and center.
Yes, I remember.
I have no idea where that aggression came from, but there was a case filed against him and I think that they fired him. I hope that they did. But even those, who have extreme reactions and don't think of the consequence on other people's mental health. So I definitely feel like those are the top
I agree. I think these are 3 great ones. Yeah. I definitely agree with these. So why don't we just jump right into our favorite segment, which is the Reddit fishbowls. So how this works is our team has basically gone and researched into Reddit stories about toxic bosses, toxic work cultures, toxic jobs, and more. And we're just going to see it for the first time.
Yeah, we want to read it with you, go through it and just discuss and take a walk on the wild side. Okay, why don't you start?
Okay. I feel so shitty for doing this. My boss promised me a promotion for sleeping with him. And after we slept together, he didn't do anything about promoting me. And the worst part, I feel guilty for cheating on my boyfriend and not getting the promotion either.
That's fucked up.
So this does happen in a lot of bigger companies as well. I know, I can't name it obviously because it's a mammoth in India. And women are made to exchange sexual favors for promotions. And they do end up getting those promotions. They end up getting bigger accounts.
I feel like sexual favors isn't something that's new to us. It doesn't make it better, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's something that, women and I'm sure men to some extent also face when they want to scale up the ladder or go somewhere.
But do you think it's it's as big or as evident in India as it is abroad?
I mean, when I was in college, and I wanted to join a particular club, I went and I gave the interview.
Yeah.
And I went with a friend of mine, and we both went to interview for the same position.
Yeah.
And I came back home, and obviously the head of the club had our numbers because he was interviewing us.
Yeah.
So at 3 a.m. That night after the interview, I get a message from him saying, "Are you available? I have an opportunity for you." So at that time, I didn't think it was something that had another meaning
why
to
are
it.
these stories happening?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know. But my point being that it's very, it's prevalent. It's not something that doesn't happen. It's not something that happens behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I know friends of mine who, run their businesses, and to please their clients have had to send hookers, have had to take them on trips. I've heard all of these stories from a lot of friends of mine who run businesses where they work with, other corporates,
Oh yeah, I do know
etc.
someone in the hospital space. I hope I'm not giving out too much. He gets doctors to come visit him, and they're not Bombay based, but another metro city based in India, and they get hookers sent to them. They go to a farmhouse. This is all how we've heard.
Yeah.
They get hookers, escorts sent to them, and they enjoy parties like that, and that's how they get these accounts.
Exactly.
So it's insane.
Yeah. So I think sexual favors in different ways have always been, the law of the land, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. So do we feel bad for her? What do we feel for her, guys?
I mean, 100% feel bad for her, 100% feel bad for her mental state.
But don't you think it's wrong for her to have cheated on her boyfriend nonetheless?
See, you can't comment because you don't know what's going on. Like, everybody has a pressure to get ahead in their career and to do whatever it takes. So I think we can't really judge
I agree.
anybody's decision.
I agree. But fine. Move on.
My boss once asked me, why don't you dress like this in office, while showing me a picture of me at a party that he'd somehow found on social media, that I should dress up and look sexy at work and it would help me get work done with clients.
Yuck.
Such an awkward situation.
Forget awkward. What a fucking sleaze. Yuck.
I feel like, these kind of situations are in-betweens. Like, you can't label them as... I mean, you could possibly label them as sexual harassment.
Yeah.
But it's like an in-between sort of a thing. I feel like there are so many awkward situations where it's wrong. And
there's nothing you
can do. Because, how are you going to prove that this is coming with an ill intention?
Yeah.
And as women, I feel like there are so many instances like this we might
but
face.
even men today, I believe. Women are just as much... approaching men with that sort of look and this and that as much as women today.
Coming back to the topic, I feel like all this again ties back to like the toxic work culture.
Yeah.
Because again, at a workplace, you're supposed to respect people's boundaries. And I feel like every now and then people just kind of tease that boundary to see, how far it can go. And that's not fair sometimes.
Yeah. Sleazy. That's the word I'm just going to keep using here. Sleazy.
Yeah. I work at this really huge beauty company that's been in the news a lot. I had a toxic boss there who once told me that even though I have had a death in my family, I don't deserve to take a break. I think I know which company this is.
I don't think anybody doesn't know which company this is.
I think even on when this issue had come out, it was all over Reddit.
Yes.
And it was also all over Diet Sabya.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people shared their experience of working
at
with
this company.
And with this particular person concerned. I think, like I said, people don't have boundaries.
This is not even boundary. I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is humanity.
Yeah.
Someone has died. And whether
sometimes you just take it too far, right? Sometimes you just take it too far. You're so involved in getting the work done that maybe the whole...
you forget humanity.
You forget humanity, empathy. Empathy is one of the biggest things. Because we live in a culture where the rat race, driving to to be at the top and everything is just so important to us that we forget. And also like the company that you're in, the culture matters, right?
Yes.
You behave according to what the culture is. You evolve into what the culture is. I've worked at a great organization in the past. I started my career with this organization. And again, I was very young at the time. So I used to think like the things happening, they're probably not right. I would get frustrated quite often. But now when I look back, and it was in a very similar place that I am today, a young entrepreneur running a company with a lot of young energy, figuring first generation entrepreneur. So I do realize, now that I look back, I realize that some lessons were important and meant to be learned. But I feel like not everybody has that balance
Yeah.
in young companies today, especially.
Yeah. This is just a pure lack of empathy, humanity, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've heard this story a lot. We've discussed this issue before.
Yeah, we've
so I
discussed
know
it.
that
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is quite prevalent. Okay. So I'm 21M and I got my first job at an MNC and my boss was in her late 30s, divorced but hot. She always seemed frustrated and annoyed, so I tried to make small talk with her to get into her good books. Eventually, we became friendly and started going out on drinks. One day, she made the move on me and I went along with it. We went to her house and had sex. But now the thing is, she wants to chill every weekend. I don't know how to get out of it and still keep my job.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do in a situation where sometimes you get friendly with like your superiors
yeah.
or your...
Just for the fuck of it.
Yeah, not even just for the fuck of it, just because you vibe and
Yeah.
then you realize that when you really want to get like out of it or get work done or just have a different discussion, it just gets very awkward when the lines get blurred.
But like I said in the beginning as well, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
When the personal and professional lines get blurred, a lot of the times you also want to blur them. You want to be friendly. But the consequence is something like this. That
Yeah.
when you want to have a serious discussion professionally, you don't want it to hurt the person personally. That's why they say never work with family. That's why they say never work with someone that you love.
Yeah.
Because of this same situation.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this, I feel like the only way to get out of it is...
Quit your job and move on.
No, I was going to say fake a fucking disease. I was legit going to say fake
But
a
how
disease.
can he say every weekend, oh, I have a cold? Next weekend, what is he going to say?
No, I have an STI. I've got an STI. Please go get yourself checked. And the doctors told me I can't do anything for a
Wild
month.
remedies with Malika.
But
Okay.
yeah, why not? I think that
let's
would
move
be
on.
the solution.
Okay. My boss was an ass to me for almost 14 months. She wouldn't let me work from home. She would often send stinkers to me for coming late to work. She wouldn't give me any days. Are they talking about you, Malika? She would ask me to work on shitty stuff, a lot of which would be her work. One time, the CEO of the company threw a party and she got to know that the CEO is actually my uncle. The next day, she asked me to come late to work, leave
Oh my
early,
God.
not do anything important, and just relax.
That's something.
No, but like I feel, again, like, you know, the whole nepotism debate or the debate
Yeah.
about having it easy when you have a network and contacts, it makes a difference.
It definitely makes
Yeah.
a difference. And I don't think nepotism is just in Bollywood. I think nepotism exists everywhere. In
Everywhere.
every industry. It's just more prominent in Bollywood because they have a platform to speak on.
Yeah.
And like a jewelry industry doesn't. But it's the same thing. So because this girl's uncle is the CEO, she's given the preferential treatment.
Like someone's uncle who just launched somebody in a show, in a certain show, and that certain somebody was really, really, really bullied on social media.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. It took me so long to get with it. So.
No, but coming back to it, I think the whole the toxic work angle here is obviously like, you know, people who have a certain privileged background don't get treated in the way that others who do not. You know, that it's probably a very in a corporate culture, people don't really discuss it, but I think
Yeah.
that bias does come in when you look at somebody who's
For sure.
working from a, you know, coming from a privileged background
For
and
sure.
working versus somebody who's not. I think somewhere that bias does come.
But that's also because they're trying to pull in a favor. Saying, oh, I let your niece work with me, so you owe me one. You know, a lot of the times I also see that happening.
Yeah. I mean, I think these are very micro problems in a much
Yes.
macro toxic culture.
For sure.
But it does exist.
Yeah.
That bias does exist for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like tired of sex and work, yeah.
Yeah, it's very repetitive.
I had a boss who refused to let me take an unplanned vacation to meet my grandma on her deathbed. I quit on the spot. It was strange because up until that incident, she was really cool and laid back. But when I asked for the weekend off to go visit my dying grandma, she snapped and lectured me about how I needed to plan my vacation better. How can you call this a vacation?
That's what I was
Have
saying,
a
right?
heart. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
discussed the same thing.
People
but this
are
is,
just like brutal when it comes to goals, when
they
it comes
lack
to
empathy,
Yeah.
Natasha. It's as simple as that.
See, honestly, like I can talk from both sides because I've been an employer and an employee,
Yes.
and so have you.
Yeah.
That sometimes, yes, it does get difficult to manage the vision of the company, the goals of the company versus the needs of your employee as well. But you should strive to be able to achieve a balance and, you know, really
And keep, I think, both parties happy. At the end, if they're not going to be happy working for you, how much of a monetary compensation today, Gen Zs, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
Like I
agreed.
could throw money on them and they'll be like, no, bro, I'm out, peace out. And I'm like, bro, like, yeah, didn't you see that reel that was going viral where they were signing off with cheers and ciao, I'm off on a holiday and beers off. And but yeah, you know, so you have to try and maintain a balance in keeping both parties happy, your clients and your company cohesively and the team. That's
Okay, so we've got the last one. My colleague is a Turkey fellow and regularly receives NSFW emails. What's NSFW?
Not safe for work.
Okay.
It's like a thing on 9gag or even Reddit where any kind of sexual stuff is NSFW.
Okay. So my colleague is a Turkey fellow and regularly receives NSFW emails from questionable sources, even on his company email. So he was giving a presentation to our team which included several ladies. Dude accidentally left his Outlook open. Imagine our shock when we saw a little blue notification popping up with the text, forward, huge ass titties, forward, some sexy pics during the meeting. He quickly shut it down, but the rest of the presentation was awkward. I think this has happened to me even in my old office where I was working.
Forward, huge ass titties?
No, so we were an all-women team and we were sitting in office. We had
I remember this!
We had an office boy and he was really kind and really nice. And it was a quiet day. We were all sitting, seriously, like putting our minds to something. Suddenly, this sound goes off in the entire office of a female moaning, and everyone's just looking at each other like, what's happening? The guy realizes it's coming from his phone. He takes out his phone and he's literally like juggling with his phone. He runs out and he doesn't come back. He just did not come back to that office. It was really funny. But I mean, I don't blame him. That's just embarrassing.
Yeah, it's just a normal thing. I think it's embarrassing, poor thing. I'm more embarrassed for him than anyone that saw it. I think it's a joke to everyone else. But he's going to be mortified for the rest of his life.
Like when you look at him, you'll be like, big ass titties, big ass titties.
We know your type is what I would think.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, I want to do the last one because I really like this one. Logged in late as I had food poisoning. Boss asked why. I told him I was feeling nauseous. Can you guess what he said after that?
Are you pregnant?
Very close. He says, make sure you're not pregnant. How?
What if he was just like being nice to her? And just
no,
saying,
Nijasha. In fact, at work, if someone says, make sure you're not pregnant, it means that your work is going to suffer. So you better make sure you're not pregnant. How can a boss say that to you otherwise?
I mean, yeah, like let's agree to disagree on this one because I think he's probably just checking up on her. See, we don't want to read too much into everything.
Nijasha, this literally says, for anybody out there, please make sure you're not pregnant. What does this mean?
That I care for you and I hope you're not having unprotected sex.
No, Nijasha. Even the production team is laughing.
Okay, we're just gonna. This is, I think, a great point to end this segment of Reddit Fishbowls. So this brings us to the end of our Reddit Fishbowl segment of toxic workplaces and cultures in 2024. I think it's been quite an eventful journey.
Eventful is a very small world, Nijasha. Everything is so weirdly and wildly sexual.
Yeah.
I think लोग काम करने नहीं जा रहे आजकल to their offices. They're just going to fish for sex.
I think it's like super weird. I think somewhere you live in a bubble where you don't probably understand how certain things work and what experiences there are for other people. But I think you share and you learn, and that's what we're trying to do with UnEvolved.
What we're doing,
I think it's been super fun, and we're excited to come back to you with our next and new episode.
सावधान रहे, सतर्क रहे.
Guys, cut.
Bye, guys.